Lesson 13. A meaningless world engenders fear. Let's take some deep breaths now and center ourselves in our spine. Closing our eyes feels right, and listening to the words, or perhaps following along in your own workbook. Wherever you are at, focusing your attention at that single point in the center of the forehead, the spiritual eye. A meaningless world engenders fear. Lesson 13. A meaningless world engenders fear. Today's idea is really another form of the preceding one, except that it is more specific as to the emotion aroused. Actually, a meaningless world is impossible. Nothing without meaning exists. However, it does not follow that you will not think you perceive something that has no meaning. On the contrary, you will be particularly likely to think you do perceive it. Recognition of meaninglessness arouses intense anxiety in all the separated ones. It represents a situation in which God and the ego challenge each other as to whose meaning is to be written in the empty space that the meaninglessness provides. The ego rushes in frantically to establish its own ideas there, fearful that the void may otherwise be used to demonstrate its own impotence and unreality. And on this alone, it is correct. It is essential, therefore, that you learn to recognize the meaninglessness and accept it without fear. If you are fearful, it is certain that you will endow the world with attributes that it does not possess, and crowd it with images that do not exist. To the ego, illusions are safety devices, as they must also be to you who equate yourself with the ego. The exercises for today, which should be done about 3 or 4 times, for not more than a minute or so, at most each time, are to be practiced in a somewhat different way from the preceding ones. With eyes closed, repeat today's idea to yourself. A meaningless world engenders fear. Then, with your eyes open, look about you, slowly, saying, I am looking at a meaningless world. Repeat this statement to yourself as you look about, then close your eyes and conclude with, a meaningless world engenders fear because I think I am in competition with God. You may find it difficult to avoid resistance in one form or another to this concluding statement. Whatever form such resistance may take, remind yourself that you are really afraid of such a thought because of the vengeance of the enemy. You are not expected to believe the statement at this point, and will probably dismiss it as preposterous. Note carefully, however, any signs of overt or covert fear which may arouse. This is our first attempt at stating an explicit cause and effect relationship of a kind which you are very inexperienced at recognizing. Do not dwell on the concluding statement, and try not even to think of it except during the practice periods. That will suffice at present. So now, closing your eyes, focusing the mind on this thought, a meaningless world engenders fear. And then opening your eyes, looking around as you repeat mentally, I am looking at a meaningless world. After about a minute, conclude with a meaningless world engenders fear because I think I am in competition with God. Note any resistance, forgive it, accept it, and thank yourself for your willingness to practice today. Blessings and love, forgiveness to all hearts. Om Shanti Om.